Every citizen of the Imperium knows the Emperor had 9 sons, 9 demigods who saved mankind. The real number is 20, and 2 of them you were never meant to count. Welcome, Initiate. The Emperor had 20 sons, and you can name only 18 of them. Guilliman, Russ, the Lion, Sanguinius, Horus. Even the traitors, even the worst of them, Angron, who drowned a galaxy in blood, Lorgar, who lit the fire of the whole rebellion, the most heretical bastards in human history, and yet we still know their names, we still tell their stories. Damnation, it turns out, is a kind of remembrance. To be a villain is still to exist. But 2 of them do not even get to be villains. The Second Primarch and the 11th, gone. Not defeated or merely killed, erased. Their names struck from every record, their legions dissolved as though they had never drawn breath. The Imperium deleted 2 of its own gods so completely that 10,000 years later we do not know their names. We do not know their faces. We do not know what they did. The traitors got infamy. These 2 got nothing. A silence so total it swallowed even their crimes. And into that silence, the theories crawl. Because there are those who refuse to believe the lost were truly lost, who say they survived, that they are still out there, hidden in plain sight, walking among the Space Marines under names you already know. And in this transmission, I am going to investigate whether they could be right. So come with me, Initiate. Let's go looking for 2 lost sons of the Emperor. I've been chasing this one a long time.
If a Primarch wanted to hide, where would he hide? Among giants. Among the biggest, strangest, most mysterious warriors the Imperium has. The ones whose origins nobody quite knows. Start with Tiberus, the Red Wake, master of the Carcharodons, the space sharks, a chapter that haunts the black gulfs between galaxies and answers to no one. Tiberus stands taller than any ordinary Astartes, a towering slab of muscle and murder in ancient armor, wielding paired chain fists like a force of nature. His origin? Unknown. His birth? Unrecorded. He appears in the lore like something that was always there, fully formed, monstrous, and unexplained. The Carcharodons themselves are a mystery, a fleet-based chapter of unknown founding, prowling the void, appearing only to annihilate. Look at him, Initiate. Bigger than his brothers, origin erased, leading a chapter that hides in the dark. If a Primarch were concealing himself among his sons, would he not look exactly like this? Then there is Asterion Moloch, master of the Minotaurs, a chapter that serves the High Lords of Terra directly, deployed as an attack dog against the Imperium's own. Moloch has led his chapter for over 1,500 years, 15 centuries. Astartes are hard to kill, but a chapter master surviving that long, unbroken, undefeated, that is not the lifespan of a space marine. That is the lifespan of something more. His past is sealed. His origins are classified even to the Imperium's own scholars. A warrior who cannot die, whose history is locked away, serving the highest powers in the Imperium. The theory writes itself. And they are not alone. For every mysterious giant in the lore, someone has whispered the same question. What if he's one of them? What if this is where a lost son went to hide? It's a good theory, Initiate, a clean one. Everything fits.
Now I have to do the cruel thing, Initiate. I have to take it away, because it cannot be true, and the proof does not come from me. It comes from the Emperor himself. The Master of Mankind stated plainly that only 18 Primarchs survived to the outset of the Horus Heresy. 18. Not 18 plus 2 more hiding in the dark. And the Emperor and Malcador the Sigillite did not lose the Second and the 11th. They found them. They knew their fate. There was never any mystery to the men who erased them. The mystery exists only for us, standing on the wrong side of a door that was deliberately closed. The lost Primarchs were not misplaced. They were accounted for, and they were gone. And a Primarch cannot simply pass for one of his sons. Understand what a Primarch truly is, Initiate. Not a large space marine, not a strong one, but a being of a wholly different order, forged with the Emperor's own gene craft and a measure of warp sorcery that could never be replicated. They bent whole armies to their will with a word. They moved faster than any Astartes could follow. They radiated a presence that mortals felt in their bones, a terrible majesty that marked them as something more than flesh. Tyberos is big. That is all Tyberos is. He carries none of it. None of the impossible speed, none of the warp-deep gravity, none of the terrible light of a true son of the Emperor. And I know, Initiate, I wanted it to be him too. The theory was clean, everything fit, but wanting a thing does not make it true. And the simplest proof is the cruelest. A Primarch produces gene seed. A Primarch grows a legion from his own flesh. If Tyberos were a Primarch, the Carcharodons would not be a small predatory chapter skulking between the stars. They would be a star-spanning empire of hundreds of thousands led by a living god. They are not. And Astarion Moloch's long life? Astartes have endured centuries before through relic armor and sheer bloody fortune, and none of it ever made a man a demigod. There is only one time in all of history that a Primarch successfully hid among his own, Alpharius and his twin Omegon, and that took the most elaborate, stage-managed deception the galaxy has ever seen, built by the single most secretive being the Emperor ever made. But mark the difference, Initiate. Mark it well, because it matters. The twins hid because they chose to. It was their design, their game, their hand on the veil. The Second and the 11th chose nothing. They did not hide. They were hunted. And so the answer is no. Tyberos is not a lost son. Neither is Moloch. Neither is any of the giants you were hoping for. The answer was always no. But the question that remains, the one worth asking, is not where are they hiding. It is what was done to them.
And here, Initiate, the truth is far darker than the fantasy you were hoping for.
We know the Second Primarch was real and active for over a century. He led his legion through the Great Crusade. He fought in the Rangdan Xenocides, one of the most catastrophic wars the Imperium ever survived, a slaughter so total it is barely spoken of even now. And then, abruptly, his history stops. It simply ends. And it ends at almost exactly the moment Leman Russ and the Space Wolves arrive. Understand what that means, Initiate. The Space Wolves were the Emperor's executioners, the Wolf King unleashed only when a legion had to be brought to heel, or brought to an end. The implication buried in that timeline is a quiet horror. One of the Emperor's own sons did something so unforgivable, or fell to something so dangerous, that the Emperor sent one brother to destroy another. Not a stranger, a brother. And when it was done, the survivors were not honored for their sacrifice. They were slaughtered, or mind-wiped and scattered, their identities scrubbed away, quietly folded into the Ultramarines and the Imperial fists, made to forget the fathers they had followed and the brothers they had lost. And then came the cruelest part of all. The other Primarchs, the survivors, the demigods who had met these two, fought beside them, called them brother, were forbidden to speak their names, forbidden to remember. Their own memories were reached into and altered. And here is the detail that should stop you cold. Most of them obeyed. These are beings who defied the Emperor on 100 other matters, who argued, who rebelled, who went their own way and dared him to stop them. And on this one thing, this erasure of their brothers, they complied. They swallowed it. They carried the silence for 10,000 years. But not perfectly, because in the quiet moments, in the fragments that slip through the cracks of the sealed record, you can still find them, the surviving Primarchs, remembering the lost ones with grief, a name almost spoken and swallowed, a brother alluded to at the height of a triumph, then buried again, the ache of a wound that was ordered shut and never allowed to heal. The Emperor could command them to forget, Initiate. He could not command them to stop grieving. And neither, it turns out, can you.
At the start, I told you that somewhere out there, 2 of the Emperor's sons were still waiting to be found, and I asked you to come looking for them with me. So let me ask you now, through all of it, through Tiberius, through Moloch, through every giant we paraded past you, you were hoping, weren't you? Hoping the theory would hold. And when I took it apart, piece by piece, you felt something drop. A small disappointment, a quiet no. Sit with that feeling, Initiate, because it was the whole point of this file. You spent this entire transmission refusing to let the lost Primarchs stay lost, inventing survivors, reaching into a deliberate void and trying to fill it with someone, anyone who might still be alive. And in doing so, you did the exact thing the Emperor's own sons did. The Primarchs were commanded to forget their brothers, and they grieved them anyway. You were told, plainly, that these men are gone, and you went looking for them anyway. That need, to believe the erased can come back, that the lost were only hidden, that the ones taken from us are still out there, somewhere, waiting. That is the most human thing about you. And it is exactly what the Emperor was counting on when he chose erasure over a grave. A grave you can visit. A grave lets you mourn and lay flowers and one day walk away. But an erasure leaves no stone to stand over. It leaves a hole. And a hole, Initiate, the human mind cannot leave alone. It fills it. It fills it forever. That is the genius of what the Imperium did, and the horror of it. They did not just kill 2 Primarchs. They turned their absence into a wound that would never close. Because a thing that is gone can be grieved, but a thing that is erased can always, maybe, still be out there. And so we keep looking. 10,000 years later, we are still looking. The lost Primarchs were never a mystery to be solved. They were a wound designed never to heal. And every theory, every whispered, "What if it's him?" including the ones you let yourself believe tonight, is just proof that after 10,000 years, it is still bleeding. The Illuminati Broadcast Network doesn't tell you what to think, Initiate. But this time, I think you already told yourself. The Lost Report is closed.